So thank you for joining us today. I'm Dr. Cristi Ford, VP of Academic Affairs at D2L. And one of the things that we do in academic affairs often is talk about thought leadership. Today we're going to have a conversation around academic innovation. I'm really pleased to be joined by my colleague here, Angela Gunder. Introduce yourself to the...
I'm Dr. Angela Gunder, and I am the founder and the principal of a collaboratory called Opened Culture. And I'm very excited to be talking about one of the most important topics, top of mind, academic innovation.
So before we jump in with our provocations today, I'd love to hear where you're joining us from and your roles.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I'm Dr. Julia Christensen Hughes, and I'm President and Vice Chancellor of Yorkville University, which is one of Canada's largest private universities.
Okay.
Such a pleasure for me to be here as well. I'm Justin Rose. I'm the Associate Vice President for Information Management and Digital Learning at Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida.
Fantastic. You know, what I know about each of you is that you are trenched in academic innovation. And so as we had this conversation scheduled, I thought no better folks to have this conversation with but the two of you. So I want to start by asking you, in your own words, how do you define academic innovation? And then the work that you're doing in your institutions, how do you think about the lever around that work as it relates to academic innovation?
Such a big question. Do you want to start?
I'd be happy to, yeah. So I think academic innovation is highly contextual, contextual to the mission of an institution or an organization and the constituents that it seeks to serve. But increasingly, if we're looking for a common denominator among meaningful, viable, sustainable academic innovation, I think it's in this space where we're moving away from the paradigm of having learners come to us and instead going to them and offering what our institution's president has called a menu of access to students. And so that means identifying what the students' vocational goals are, creating highly adaptive and personalized learning experiences, and an institution that is able to be agile and responsive to emerging technologies, emerging trends in career fields and in industries, and creating networks of partnerships that allow for the facilitation of degree programs, of lifelong learning opportunities, and other modes of learning that bring value to the constituents at the organization. So that's how I've seen it.
Wow. That's a great answer.
Yeah, it is.
I really like what you said.
Oh,
I'm going to answer it a little bit differently, maybe a little more personally.
Sure.
So I did not enjoy my undergraduate experience much. I was really frustrated. I was so disappointed to find myself in large lecture halls with faculty who I didn't really feel cared about students or learning, taking tests that, felt like trick multiple choice questions, testing your ability to memorize. And it wasn't until my final year when I had a professor who'd taught using the case method that I thought finally my brain is being engaged. Finally, somebody wants to know what I think and what I would do. And that experience really stuck with me. So when I came back as a junior faculty member, today I call myself an educational disruptor. I didn't realize it back then.
Yes.
But as a feisty junior faculty member, I was already working to disrupt the department that I was in and saying, come on, we've got to do better. We've got to do better for our students. How does learning really happen? How should we be assessing students so that they're motivated to learn, that they see the value in what they were doing? And so before I knew it, I was leading my university's teaching center. I just became known sort of as this troublemaker, and I guess the university decided to tap into my energy. And then, of course, I started to really study about student learning. I became a scholar of teaching and learning and worked hard to create change at the level of culture and systems. So my doctorate was in organizational behavior. And I became fascinated by the espoused vision of an organization and then looking at the behavior of the people within it and asking, to what extent is that behavior aligned with this espoused vision? And often you discover it is not. And so, again, as a young faculty member, I was saying, now, wait a minute, I've been studying those issues in for-profit enterprise, but I'm seeing as much, if not more, dysfunction in the university. I'm seeing all these universities espouse how much they care about students and their learning, but discovering all these systems that ran counter to that.
Right.
So again, as I took on different academic leadership roles, I tried to bring that a systems orientation to change, and to make sure that the student was truly at the heart of the enterprise, and that we were doing everything we could to help them learn valuable skills, but also values, and to launch them into careers where they could have a positive impact on society, as well as their own families and communities. So that has always driven my career. And so now as president at Yorkville University, I have this remarkable opportunity to provide thought leadership for the whole university and really bring those ideas forward.
You said three things that really resonated with me just there, and that I think we have been able to embody at Southeastern University as well. One is that you began with this concept of your lived experience as a learner, and that's something that you bring to your leadership at your institution and higher education in general. I think that's so important. We can't have, and maybe this is an unfair term, empty suits in academic leadership. We need folks who have skin in the game and recognize that their lived experiences offer them lessons and a foundation for doing meaningful and useful innovation in their context. You also talked about troublemaking. I think getting into good trouble, to quote former late Representative John Lewis, who talked about getting into good trouble in the context of the civil rights movement, that's something we should be doing in academic institutions as well. When we have cultures that allow for that type of disruptive engagement, it can help to cultivate soil that maybe has become a bit stagnant over time in terms of programming, structure, and so forth. And then you also talked about aligning espoused values with systems. And that is so huge. There's a stakeholder at our institution who has given so much life-giving thought leadership recently, who talks about this concept of structure demanding behavior. And so we can talk all we want about innovation, about meeting learners where they are, but until our systems and processes and enterprises facilitate that, then it's going to be a non-starter.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Well
so
said.
You've both teased out these concepts that really relate to academic innovation right now in this moment. Let's move way far into the future and talk about that ideal state. What does strategic leadership need to look like in order to drive innovation, not just to respond to the challenges in front of us, but to really think about how we reimagine education that supports academic innovation?
Oh my gosh, again, these are really big questions. Okay, I have to say, I think I have the best job, you've heard me say this before, Cristi, in higher education in Canada. Like, to have the opportunity to be president of an innovative university. My job is to be a thought leader. And what we've come up with structurally is, I think, is a really interesting model. So I work in collaboration with the CEO, who is responsible for sort of running the academic operation, if you will, or the institutional operation. It's my role is to look into the future and to see where we need to shift to, and then to bring those ideas in that then come into the organization. And what we've realized now is that combination of operational excellence with vision, we need to think of it like a fractal, a structure of a fractal that we now want to recreate on each one of our campuses in our various enterprises, so that we have operational excellence combined with thought leadership, making sure we're focusing on the right thing and doing those systems and culture work. The other thing that informs us culturally is we annually do a survey, a cultural survey called the Denison Survey. You might be familiar with that one, where we benchmark ourselves against other organizations in myriad ways. And so really looking at, to what extent does the entire organization understand this bold vision that we have to do higher education differently? To what extent do people, believe in the leadership? Do they think we have the right values? And so annually we get great participation from employees in all areas, and we prioritize change. So I think for us, we're on a path to the future. I think we know what we need our structure to be. We just need to be doing more of it. And I think for your next question, I'll tell you a little bit more about what that more looks like. But yes, we need bold leaders at all levels and with different skill sets than they have today.
I couldn't agree more. And I think your point about using that survey to validate whether or not you're actually living into that missional mandate is so key. And that bespeaks an attribute or a character value that I think leadership has to have in 2030 and arguably now to be successful, which is sufficient vulnerability to face the truth about our institutional context and to be able to make informed decisions from that data. Also, I think leaders have to develop the capacity for agility and responsiveness to emerging trends, technologies, and a changing landscape, not only in higher education, but in industry. I think we're also seeing a shift towards increasingly decentralized and distributive networks in industry, in business and commerce, and in education, and institutions that are slow or unwilling to create that type of decentralized and distributed network of leadership across their institutions are going to find it very difficult to innovate in any type of viable way. So I think that's absolutely key. Yeah.
If I can build on that, I think, I don't know what it's like in the US right now, but I know in Canada that in the public system, there is so much frustration amongst faculty who are not feeling respected or listened to. I'm not sure that we've ever listened to students particularly well. I mean, we do the end of course surveys, but do they really have voice? Do we really understand the depth of their experience and what they're enjoying and what is frustrating and what their aspirations are? So through this survey, like, it's just such a powerful way to give all of our employees, faculty and staff, voice. And we share the results broadly and we chop them up in different ways. So to your comment about distributed, right? Each area gets their own results, and then we see the results for the university overall. And Denison has told us, I'm so proud of this, that last year they had never seen such an increase, a year-over-year increase in results, from where we were about at the norm at around the 50th percentile to I think we got up to about the 80th percentile. So we were absolutely thrilled. And it's by listening. It's listening to everyone, understanding how they're experiencing the culture and helping them identify what we need to prioritize. The other point I wanted to make in terms of leadership and distributed leadership in particular, you know, we talk about universities as the ivory tower. And I think that label is pretty well earned, right? I think, and again, it's the systems. If you look at how do we define the faculty role, how are faculty trained, how are they assessed, how are they rewarded, right? It's largely to keep their head down, doing their research. But the university of the future, I want to get back to your 2030, right?
Let's go there.
Has to absolutely be embedded. It has to understand it is a critical part of an ecosystem in which it has to form authentic partnerships and be responsive, right? And so that skill set to do that well is a very different skill set than what faculty are trained to do.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
so where do our academic leaders come from?
Right.
What are we asking of them? And so a big strategic push for us this year is to help all of our academic leaders understand, help them map the ecosystem for their program, prioritize the organizations they need to engage with, and how to bring that into the classroom, how to bring our students into that world. And I think by doing that well, our students will be so well prepared to land the kinds of jobs that they're aspiring to have. And so it's a skills shift. It's a significant skill shift.
And I want to amplify one point that you made as well, and that's that students not only need to understand where they're going as part of the university mission, but they need to have seats at the table as that's defined.
What a fantastic conversation we've had here today.
Excellent.
Really appreciative of you both joining us today. I appreciate your time, the work that you're doing around academic innovation. I guess I want to go off script just a little bit
Let's
here.
do it.
Why not?
If you have one call to action for leaders that are working in spaces of innovation to help them to move their communities, their innovation, their institutions forward, what would that be?
Listen to the experiences of your employees and of your students, and of the folks within that ecosystem that will be hiring your students or supporting their journeys by providing apprenticeships or other opportunities for learning. I find a lot of leaders are so busy doing, and they can become defensive when they hear something that they're hoping isn't true.
Doesn't fit their narrative.
I think you have to listen hard. You have to have an open heart and an open mind, and to really understand the gift you're being given. Because I truly believe that in every problem that surfaces, there's a tremendous gift for improvement. You just have to be open to it. You have to listen.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. That could have been my answer. I think active, real listening is so critical. I also think we should be asking why we're doing what we're doing, and we should be relentlessly interrogating our current systems and processes. So leaders shouldn't shy away from asking why this construct that, the sunken cost fallacy, we put in so much resources into it. We've dedicated so much of our branding and our strategic intents to this thing, but is it working?
Yeah.
And then also asking why not? So why wouldn't we serve this new learner population? Why wouldn't we launch this new academic program? Why wouldn't we find novel ways to create greater access and affordability for students? And so that consistent, ruthless interrogation of the why and the why not in our institutions is going to allow for greater sustainability and value.
Justin, Julia, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Angela, thank you for doing this with me.
Such a pleasure.
Really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been great.